A very good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to be with all of you this evening for a very, very special live session with a very dear and close friend of mine, Jayshetty. He's here for the launch of his new book, 8 Rules of Love, and he's been very kind to agree to join us for this conversation on the most important, essential topic of love. Valentine's Day is just around the corner, and what could have been a better topic to discuss than the subtle nuances of love? So, without taking much of your time, because time is short.
Gopal, Prabhu, so wonderful to see you.
So good to see you. Can you imagine you're here in Mumbai and I can't meet you?
I know. We're so near yet so far, and I miss you, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I just want everyone to know who's tuning in that when I reached out to Gurugopalji to do this interview with me for my new book, which I wanted to share with you, not only this is a real friendship and a real guide and mentor in so many ways. He said to me, we have to do this at a good time so that everyone can hear about this and join us. So he told us the best time. Today my schedule got changed, and last minute, at the drop of a hat, he shifted and said, no worries, we'll make it work. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I feel so grateful to call you a guide and mentor in so many ways, and I feel so grateful to have your support. So thank you so much. I'm so thankful.
How could we not do that?
So
how could we not change the time? And how could we not have so many more people listening to you? If you're going to be sharing these thoughts, we just needed more people to hear. And you've always been very kind. Jay, I've known him for over 2 decades now, and what an incredible person. Right? Very authentic, genuine, wise, extremely humble, and full of love. So who better to talk on the 8 rules of love than a man full of love?
I can't believe it has nearly been 2 decades we've known each other. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to think about that. It's been incredible to experience your love in my life at so many pivotal moments, and I'm so happy to see just how incredibly you're serving the world and how much people love everything you have to share and learn from, which I was lucky to hear in small rooms and small homes and small groups. But now the whole world's getting to hear you.
I was lucky to hear you in that little ashram at the Bhaktivedanta Manor. I remember seeing you the very first presentation you made, and I came and heard you there, and I said, this is just incredible. But I think we should just get on to it. I know your time is short. We're going to otherwise keep chatting, We should get on to the topic, But I just so much love the way you begin you dedicated your book, saying to my mom who taught me how to love endlessly, to my sister who taught me how to love unconditionally, and to my wife who taught me how to love actually, right? And love is such an incredible medium, because a relationship is such an incredible medium, because we express love through relationships. And we receive love through relationships, right? Somebody once asked me, where is love made? I said, well, I think love is made in China, I said, no guarantee, no warranty.
That's a good one. That's so true.
Which is, if it works, it goes all the way to the moon, or it goes only until the evening. So in a time when the shelf life of love is so relationship is so meager and so small, right? It's so beautiful that you've written this book, 8 Rules of Love. And I really want to ask you this question. Like, sometimes I say love, how do you define love? Like you would say love is less a noun, more a verb. It's less a feeling, more action, service. It's less an emotion, more an expression. Well, what is your definition of love? What are those elements that compose love? What are those ingredients that, deepen love? So I really like to hear your thoughts on that.
That's such a beautiful question. And in this book, one of the rules is that you should define love before you say it or feel it. I think often we say love and we experience love, but we're always thinking of love as our definition. So if someone says, I love you, we don't stop to ask them what their definition is. We just assume that it's the same as what we mean when I say I love you. But two people can have very different definitions. So the way I define love, through the research I did for this book, through couples I sat down with in coaching, through looking at the science and looking at the research behind long-lasting relationships, it comes down to three things. The first is, which is the most obvious one, you have to like someone's personality. And the way I define this is studies show that it takes 10 hours to consider someone a casual friend. If you spend 10 hours with someone. If you spend 100 hours with someone, it means they're a good friend. And if you spend 200 hours with someone, it means they're a great friend. We've spent more than 200 hours together.
Thank you.
So we have that within us. But the question we have to answer is, do I want to spend 200 hours with this person? That is a big part of love. Do I want to have 200 meals, 200 evenings, 200 nights with this person? So that's personality. The second one is, this one is really interesting, is do you respect their values and do they respect your values? Because what I found, Gurugopalji, in relationships is most of us want our partners to value what we value. We want them to appreciate what we appreciate, but they can't. They're different people. And so do we respect their values and do they respect ours? And the final one is, are we committed to helping them achieve their goals? And are they committed to helping us achieve our goals? We'll find in our relationships, you'll have people who like you, maybe they kind of respect you, and maybe they think your goals are okay. But very rarely do we find someone who likes our personality, deeply respects our values, and wants to help us achieve our goals.
That's such a brilliant answer, Jay. Thank you so much for that. And I think what you said is so true, that it's time that makes love. Time that really forms that deep bonding. So whether it's 200 hours makes it great friends. Because when you give time to somebody, you're actually giving out a piece of your life which will never come back to you. Everything else I give can still come back, but time given will never get back to me. So such a brilliant answer there again. And then this whole thing about respect. You know, I was just reminded of a beautiful story of how a little boy once went with his grandma to the zoo, and he had freckles all over his body. So the kids were making fun of him, that, you know, do you even need to go to see a zebra or a leopard? You know, he has freckles all over his body. So he started crying, felt insulted. So his grandma held his face in her hands and said, you know what, darling, the best thing that God created in the world is freckles, the most beautiful thing. And then the boy held the grandma's face and said, Grandma, freckles are not the most beautiful things created in the world. There's something more beautiful. The grandmother said, what? The boy said, wrinkles. You know? So when you respect somebody for who they are, it's when you get that respect. So what you were saying was just reminding me of this interesting story. But
that's beautiful. What a beautiful story. That is such a special story.
You know what? I was thinking that this whole concept of relationships and love today, you know, it's sometimes it gets so superficial. You get superficial infatuation at times, and then people really don't look at the essential ingredients of what is required for a lifelong friendship, for a lifelong relationship, or for what you said, like commitment. You know, like very often I say, love is blind, but marriage happens to be the eye opener, right? Because you don't see things immediately, but when you actually start seeing things, then it dawns upon you that I think I lack something, and that what I lack is probably compatibility. And I saw there's a section of your book which is on compatibility, and I thought it would be really, really important for everybody listening to this to know, and mostly young people are here, they're into relationships. So what are those three key elements, like foundational elements to look for when it comes to compatibility? And what are the three red flags? Like if I see these three things, I know that this person's not meant to be with. And if I see these three things,
Yeah.
maybe I don't see everything else, but I know that this person could be a potential partner, a potential friend for the rest of my life. So I really like you to, decode this subject of compatibility.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful question. And also I love your reflections on some of the things I've written, because it's so wonderful to see how there's so many parallel thoughts, and you always have these beautiful stories to share. So I think that first I want to establish that chemistry, which is what you're talking about, this spark, this attraction, this infatuation, is only 1/4 of the puzzle of love. And often we place so much importance on this 1/4 that we assume that if I have this, then this is the relationship. But it's just 1/4. And the other 3/4 are connecting with yourself, actually understanding who you are, chemistry, of course, with someone else, compatibility, as you rightly said, and the fourth one is character, their character, your character, and your commitment to each other. So there's 4 things that are important, and you've asked a beautiful question about compatibility. And so when you look at let's start with the 3 red flags, because I think those are really interesting, and people are constantly worrying and trying to figure this out. I think one of the biggest red flags is when someone plays games. If someone makes you feel anxious in the way they communicate with you, in that sometimes they reply, sometimes they don't reply, sometimes you hear from them immediately, sometimes it takes them a whole week, sometimes they're nice, sometimes they're not nice, they shift, they're playing games with you. This is a red flag. Sometimes we even get attracted to these people because we think, oh my gosh, they're so hard to get, I have to pursue them. We get even more infatuated. And so I think it's so important to remember, if someone is not clear, if someone is not communicating in a very sincere way, chances are that there's a red flag there. At some point or another, there'll be an issue. So that's number 1 red flag. The second red flag, I'd say, which is a bit harder to spot, is that someone often tries to make you feel inferior, but it looks like care. It looks like care. So they say to you, oh, I don't think your friends are good for you. Oh, I don't think that the way your mom talks to you is good for you. It seems like care, but often it has an element of control. It has an element of making you feel like this whole life you've lived has some negativity. And the way you know whether it's a red flag or whether it's a good thing is they're not trying to ruin your other relationships. They shouldn't be trying to break off other wonderful relationships you've spent years building. So that's the second one. And the third red flag that I'd say that I would point out is someone who falls in love too fast. So someone who tells you, I love you within 3 days. The study oh, sorry, go on. You were going to say something. No, please. No, yeah. Some people, in 3 days, they'll tell you, I love you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. They're giving you flowers on day 2. They're taking you on this beautiful drive on day 6. If someone falls in love with you too fast, slow down, press the brakes, because a fast car is going to have an accident, right? And so I think so many people think, oh wow, I've been looking for this person my whole life. So those are 3 red flags. I'd love to hear your reflections before we do the 3 positive things to look for.
Because the first one you said, is that playing games, and not communicating. They say that in relationships sometimes are like a smartphone. If you don't have a connection, all you can do is play Candy Crush or Games.
That's so good. I love that.
In that context, if you don't mind, I would like to ask you this one question.
Please.
When you said when people don't sincerely communicate. Now, there are times when people don't sincerely communicate because they're going through a very low phase. Like everybody has a different day. Even in the beginning of a relationship, not every day is the same day. We go through our own moods, ups and downs. There's been so many things happening in life. So how does a person really kind of, sense that it's a challenge that this person is going through, which is being expressed through insincere or inconsistent communication, or it is actually someone who's absolutely insincere and course this person's not communicating. So just to clarify that.
Yeah, such a good question, and I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. I've found that when people are going through their own issues, as you said, and even me, I can honestly say that if I've had a stressful day, I can be irritable, I can be agitated, I can be snappy with my own wife. It's normal, and it's not okay, it's not good, it's not healthy, but we all have bad days. And so that's very natural. But I find the difference is that people who are feeling bad about themselves are also quick to apologize or explain. So they'll say, hey, you know what, I'm having a really tough day, I shouldn't have said that, or you know what, I've just been really overworked this week, I'm so sorry. They'll apologize for their behavior, or they'll at least be aware of it, and they'll make you aware of it. But someone else, they'll treat you that way, but there's no context, there's no conversation, they're not opening up about it. And I think that it's not that someone has to tell you their life story on day one. People don't have to tell you why they're depressed or why they have certain challenges, but at least there's some accountability. I think that's what I look for. If someone doesn't have sincerity, do they have accountability? Can they say, this is why I've been acting this way? And then you have some context. So I think that's the one thing that I would look for.
At least accountability, rather than things can unfold. Brilliant.
Yes, exactly. For your actions and behaviors, because you rightly said, you can't be nice all the time, but you can be accountable for when you don't feel you've behaved appropriately.
No, fantastic. That's really makes it very clear. You mentioned, you were also going to talk about the 3 aspects first of what to look for. Right. These were the red flags. What are the other 3?
Yes, exactly. And the red flags question is so good, because I think too many people avoid the red flags because of attraction. We all have this halo effect that and this is something to be really conscious about in the 3 good things. Often what happens is we like one thing about someone. We like that they're attractive. We like that they have a good job. We like that they went to a good school. We like that they have money, and we assume that they're a good person. So that's the halo effect, this idea that they have one thing that we like, and we assume that everything else must be okay. So that's another thing to look out for. But the 3 things to look for, the first one is, which is so basic and easy to look at, how do they talk to other people around you? How do they talk to the waiter? How do they talk to the driver in the Ola or the Uber or whatever it may be? How do they talk to the person sitting next to you who arrived with you? How do they talk to the receptionist? How does a person behave with every single person in the world, no matter their status, no matter their experience? Because I think that shows a lot about the person. And also, how do they talk about people in their life? Are they always gossiping? Are they complaining? Are they comparing? Because that's going to tell you a lot about their frequency and the energy. When I'm with you, Gurugopalji, that, you know, you're not someone who'll ever criticize someone. You'll never gossip about someone. Even as a friend, you can appreciate a person like that. So I think that's the number one thing I look for. The second thing you're looking for is this person curious about you? Do they ask you questions, and are they present to hear the answers? So many people will ask you, how are you? And then when you're talking, they're looking at the game behind you. They're on their phone. They're not present, but they're also not curious really. So is this person really trying to understand you? Are they asking you thoughtful questions? Are they really present with you? That's the second thing. And the third thing I'd say to look for in a healthy person is that they reliably keep their promises. If they say they're coming at 7 p.m., they'll be there at 7 p.m. If they say, hey, I'll call you at 9 p.m., then they'll message you and say, I'm running late, I'll call you at 9:15. There's a clarity that you feel when you're building a relationship. You're not feeling confused. I think too many people are feeling that confusion is excitement. Confusion is exciting. It's stressful and exciting. But clarity is what we
like that point you made about how is that person talking about others. You know, that says so much about that individual, because like I often say, what Susie says about Sally says more about Susie than Sally. Because whatever they're talking about an individual is not about that individual, it's about who they are. Right? So the more we are in sync with, and the more we are trying to tune into with awareness of what's happening around us with these people, I think that's when we can then sense this. And I also, when you said about commitment in terms of, just being able to maintain time, just being able to maintain that commitment, just builds so much trust and brings so much clarity. So I think it's beautiful. All these 3 pointers are extremely helpful in terms of figuring out, if this person is someone whom we can connect to even in the future. So thank you for the brilliant answer, Jay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I will ask you another first I'll get to a simpler one, then ask you a very touchy question. Okay? Very touchy.
I love it. Only you can ask me anything you want.
No.
You can ask me anything you want.
I can
Only you.
Because I know that you'll give such a brilliant answer. But you mentioned about, before we get to that one, you mentioned about, connection with your own self, your relationship with your own self. And I strongly feel that your relationship with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship, right? People are in relationships, but they are a royal mess internally. They're trying to forgive others without being able to forgive themselves. They're trying to care for others without caring for themselves. And there's this fancy thing out there in the world that, you just need to keep making sacrifices for others, and the more you make sacrifices for others, that's true love. And I actually appreciate that principle a lot, that love means sacrifice. There's no question. When we serve somebody whom we love, we don't have to make some personal sacrifices. But at times, it's just eulogized so much, and it's glorified so much, and it's put up on a pedestal to the extent of not caring for oneself. Right? So how does one pour out of an empty jar? No, you can't. You can't forgive others if you're not able to forgive yourself. You can't love others if you can't love your own self. So self-love is so critical to be able to love others. So I just wanted to listen to your thoughts on, what are those aspects of self-love that we need to pay attention to in a way that then our love with others can exponentially expand.
Absolutely. So wonderfully said. I think that the first thing we have to realize is that no relationship with anyone else will cure our lack of relationship with ourselves. There is no person who can heal you. There is no person to save you. There is no person to make everything better for you. That person, no one can fix you because you're not broken, right? You're healing, you're learning, you're growing, but you're not broken. And I think that we've had these ideas planted into our minds since we were young that someone will come one day and they'll save me and they'll love me in such a way that everything will fit back into its place. And as magical an idea as that is, what you just said so wonderfully, Gopalji, is, you have to learn to love yourself. But this is also something that we've never been taught in how to do it. So what I would like everyone to do is loving yourself is a habit. It's a muscle that can be built. It's not just a feeling. It's not just an idea. And to me, the best habit to fall in love with yourself is every single day when you wake up and you look in the mirror, and every single day before you go to bed, I want you to think of 3 things, something really practical that anyone can do. The first thing is, what do I love about my body? And I don't mean aesthetically. I don't mean a body part that you think is attractive. I'm saying you've got a heart that beats. You've got lungs that breathe. You've got a stomach that digests. You've got whatever it is that you don't, we take for granted, these basic things that our body does. Right now, both of our hearts are beating. Right now, both of our lungs are breathing. Like, what would we do without them? But we don't love that part of our body. And so I want you every day to think of, what's the one thing I love about my body? The second thing is, what do I love about my mind? It might be your sharpness. It might be your memory. It might be your focus. It might be your ability to be thoughtful about something. It might be your methodology. We are so quick to criticize ourselves. We say, I'm ugly for our body. We say, I'm stupid. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm dumb. We say all these negative things, but we never say, wait a minute, I actually have a good memory. I'm actually thoughtful. And then finally, what is one thing we love about our heart? and our character. It could be that we're compassionate. It could be that we're kind. It could be that we're gentle. I think it's so important to remind yourself as a habit every day of what you love about your body, what you love about your mind, and what you love about your heart, because you're very quick to judge and criticize yourself when you find something you don't.
Oh, that's brilliant. So beautifully explained and so well broken down and so practical, actually. Just to be able to figure out that one thing about our mind, our body, or our heart, and to build up on that and see how we can then kind of appreciate ourselves rather than criticizing ourselves. Right? And I really think that it's so absolutely crucial to be able to pay that attention to finding those little things in ourselves. The self-talk that we have is so often so negative internally, and it's so critical about our own selves, you know, which is why there's a beautiful quote which I read which said that, you know, never ever say negative things about yourself, because those things can turn into reality, and, you know, they kind of cast spells on you, and that's why probably the words are called spellings itself, you know. It was a nice quote that I read, you know, because it's cast a spell and just make it a reality. So, so very beautifully put that, you know, just look for those little things in each of these, whether it's the mind, the body, or the heart, and start some appreciation for ourselves. I think it's so crucial to be compassionate to ourselves. We're just not compassionate enough to our own selves. It's all right to be a little not so good looking. It's all right to mess up. It's all right to, you know, fail. It's all right to lose. But it's also all right to say that I actually look good. But it's also all right to say that my lungs are working well. It's also all right to say that I'm sharp. You know, I may not be as intelligent as somebody, but I may still be sharp. So thank you so much for breaking that down. And now to the touchy question.
Thank you.
But after this
I'm ready.
To the touchiest one. you have some, you have 5 or 10 minutes.
There's levels.
Yeah, it's okay. Right?
Yeah, of course. Yes, of course. I'm in no rush. Yes. This is amazing. This is amazing. I'm so grateful to see all the amazing comments, everyone. Thank you so much, because I can tell that you're really listening and being present with both of us tonight. So thank you so much to everyone, your beautiful community, Gopalji, and all your wonderful audience and followers. Thank you so much.
Their love for you, and I must say that please do check out Jay's book. I have it right here. 8 Rules of Love was launched on the 31st of Jan, and my heartiest congratulations for the book. You know, I've just been reading a couple of pages. I'm traveling on Sunday for a week, and then I'm going to carry it on a long flight. Get some chance to, you know, to, read the book and learn from your wonderful wisdom and your thoughts. But here's a question for you now, the touchy one.
Yes.
I
gosh.
A couple in America, an elderly couple, wonderful people, really wonderful people, very good souls. And I was once having a conversation with them. They're Americans. I was having a conversation with them, wonderful souls, and they said to me that we've been in a relationship for the last 30 years. We're in a live-in relationship. We have not cheated on each other ever. There's no question for us to think of infidelity. There's no question for us to think about cheating. We love each other from the core of our hearts. Right? We bond with each other like we would not bond with anybody else. A one-night stand or a hookup, that's not even in our vocab. You know, it's not even in our vocabulary. So they were saying, I remember this conversation very well. They're very accomplished people in their space. You know, very, very well-known people in their space. And they were saying, we are living in a marriage without the ritual of a marriage. And they said, sometimes we find people who are married are the ones who are at times cheating, are the ones who are at times lying, are the ones who are at times indulging in, you know, things that are not done, you know. So they were asking this question, and I would like to know your thoughts on this. What is the purpose of the institution of marriage? Why get married? Most of these young people who are watching you today are thinking, it seems like the institution of marriage is a failed institution. Right. They're thinking that what does marriage even accomplish? If there is somebody who genuinely bonds with each other, and like this couple, they live with each other, they've never cheated on each other, they can't think about cheating on each other. Right. What is the purpose of that ritual of marriage? Does it even accomplish anything? Does it add to our love? Does it subtract from our love? Does it build up on our love? What does the ritual of marriage do? So sorry if it's been a little touchy.
No, it's an important, I think, one thing that you do so well, Gopal, is you have so many like critical questions for the times. Like this is the time we live in, right? And these are genuinely the thoughts that as a culture we're all having. And I would first say that the couple that you're speaking about, without knowing it, they're truly married. They're living the real definition of what marriage is, and we should really celebrate that. I often say to people, we celebrate too much how long people have been together. We celebrate the length of a relationship and not the depth of a relationship. And I think that this is our biggest lack. Because if someone's been together for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, we'll be like, oh, they've been together, we should celebrate this. But you have no idea whether they've actually been close during that time. So I would say to everyone that, first of all, I think that questioning whether marriage is right for you or wrong for you is a healthy thing. Because I think that too many people get married without knowing what it means, without knowing what it is, and they think they have to get married. And I think anything you do because you think you have to do it is never a good reason to do it. You don't wake up to meditate every day because you think you have to do it. You don't do what you do every day because you think you have to do it. You do it because you want to do it. You believe it's important for you. And so first thing I'd say is that reflecting on whether you want to get married is a healthy reflection. We should encourage that. What I can say is that the commitment that comes through marriage adds another layer of depth that is not always possible without that commitment. And I'm not saying everyone has to get married, and I'm not saying that without marriage you can't have love. I'm saying for those that feel they want to express their commitment to each other in a different way, in a deeper way, that's what marriage is really for. Marriage is saying we are going to live through the good times and the bad times. I am going to support you. If you look at the vows in a marriage, they're actually really beautiful. But those are never the vows that we repeat on a daily basis. They're not the vows that we take into our heart. And so one should only get married if one can really take those into our heart and really uphold those values within our heart. And if we're thinking, well, I can have a successful relationship without marriage, there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to be open to the challenges that come with that as well. And I think often we've built these glorified views of marriage, and we've built glorified views of cohabitating without marriage. And the point is that neither of them are glorified, because the only difference is how much work are you both going to do. And that's all that matters. There is no perfect external vehicle or vessel. There is only how much work you're both willing to do.
No, so well put that I like the point of, how both of these ideas could be overly glorified, without really understanding the amount of work that goes into make a good relationship in both, and without understanding the challenges that come along with both. Right. So there's work needed to make the relationship work in both of these, and this respective challenges that it brings along with it. And like you earlier said, that it's about the depth of our commitment more than the length of a relationship, and that's such a beautiful point. Like I often say that when you talk about the word spiritual, then in the word spiritual you have the word ritual, but the SPI in the ritual stands for the spirit behind it. And as soon as the spirit is gone, then what remains is a ritual. So there could be a ritual of marriage without the spirit in it, but there could also be the ritual of cohabitation without the spirit in it, and both are the same in that sense. So I really love the way you put it, that it's not this or that, it's about work, having to do that work in both, and also willing to be living by those challenges that come with both. And I also like that point you made about, that marriage adds that extra layer of depth, right? Because we are now kind of making that commitment. Taking a cue from that, you know, I've been the touchiest.
The touchiest question.
No, not the touchiest. I'll leave it up to you if you like to reply. That's okay.
Please, I like it. I think that was a great question. I'm so glad that you went there, because I just think that we keep glorifying these external ideas. Like people say, oh, I'm polyamorous, I'm monogamous. Like we glorify these external ideas, but we don't realize that they all require the same work. And so the question is not what label you put on the bottle or what label you put on yourselves. Like the label doesn't define the love you have. It's like saying this bottle is full of water, but on the bottle outside, I'm just going to put a label that says Sprite.
Yeah.
It doesn't just turn into Sprite because you labeled it. So just because you labeled it marriage, it doesn't make it bad or good. It will be the same relationship
100%.
that you always had. So I like that. Touchy questions are
We
good.
have to do more
Touchy
of these
questions.
lives, so we bring up some more touchy questions.
Definitely. I'm in. Whenever.
Yeah, so
I'm
the
in.
last question, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you're busy and you're probably going to be traveling soon too.
No.
So the last one, taking the clue that, you know, marriage can add that extra layer of depth to our relationship. I've known you, I've known Radhi both, and both of your families now for a considerable amount of time. Both of you are such lovely people, you and her. Both of your families are such lovely families. Now, like you said rightly, to be there through the ups and downs, you know, like I often say, if it rains, you know, share your umbrella, and if you don't have an umbrella, share the rain. You know? So it's about sharing. Right? Now, what I want to ask you is, if you don't mind, and if she doesn't mind, if she's around you, she could join in as well. Is
No, she's not here. She's not here.
If you could share
Yeah.
one incident from your life where you had like a massive disagreement or a massive serious difference, right? But the way you navigated through it actually fueled your love, right? Because I feel when you have love and a genuine connection, even disagreements fuel your love, right? And when you don't have that love, even agreements lead to dissent eventually. You know, so when the connection is strong, that's when you see even the apparent ups and downs and the massive fights or disagreement, and sometimes very serious ones, actually deepen your bonding. So I really, if you don't mind, want you to share one story, one episode where you feel you both worked on it, and that's what made you so sweet and so beautiful as a couple today.
Well, I think it's a beautiful question, and I'm happy to share, because I think it's important for people to realize that there is no perfect couple, there is no perfect relationship. Radhi and I are not perfect as individuals, and we're not perfect together. Not everything works out perfectly. And so the biggest thing that stands out, and actually this is a ongoing thing that we're always working on and monitoring, is that we had planned to live 5 minutes away from Radhi's mother's home. This was one of her biggest desires in her life. Before we even got married, when we were dating, when we got engaged, the one thing she'd always say to me is, I want to live right near my parents' home. And our parents' home is near the temple, it's near our friends, it's in a great area where we would love to spend our lives. And so we even bought a place, and we made this commitment that we would live 5 minutes from her parents' home. And within 2 weeks of us getting married, this is 7 years ago now, and Gopalji spoke at our reception event as well on our wedding day. And 7 years ago when this happened, 2 weeks after we got married, I got a job opportunity in New York City that I couldn't say no to, because it was my purpose and it was my life's work to say yes to it. And so I took the opportunity, and I remember saying to Radhi at that time, I said to her, if you can't come, I honestly said this to her, I said, if you don't want to come, I will come and visit you every weekend, and we will still stay married, but I'll live in New York, you'll live here, and I love you so much that I'll come back and you can come and see me and we'll just go back and forth. And she was so kind enough to come with me. And then a few years ago, we moved to LA. And Radhi misses home. She misses her family. She misses her niece and nephew. She misses her friends. She misses everyone. She loves LA. She loves me. She loves New York, but she loves London. It's her heart. And so we have found the ability to love each other, even when we sometimes can spend months in different places. Radhi will sometimes spend a couple of months in London before she comes back to LA. I will sometimes come to London to be with her before she comes back. We've learned to find the balance that is right for us, in that even at a distance, we don't feel disconnected. And I think that's what's been so beautiful about this relationship, is that I don't want to see her be unhappy to make me happy. And she does not want me to be unhappy to make her happy. We both truly want to see each other be happy. And sometimes that happiness means loving each other from a distance. Sometimes that happiness means being in a different time zone and still talking to each other and making a commitment. Sometimes that means being at a distance and still finding a way to make sure that our birthdays are special, or that every single day there's a point of connection. And so I think that's been the greatest thing that we're navigating, because we realize that what makes us happy and what gives us purpose are two very different things. And I think the best thing about that is when we reunite after a month or two, I'm so excited because I've missed her so much. The spark never goes away. Because when you're spending time apart, you both get to become more of yourself, but then you get to give more.
Wow, what a beautiful answer that was. Separation does make love grow fonder. Yes, indeed, it does. But it's such a beautiful principle to see that, the other person's happy, and what could we do to make the other person happy. When we are so self-absorbed and so self-centered and so narcissistic that we want people to make us happy all the time, it's about me. But when the me shifts to somebody else and see how we can make them happy, then there's an echo that comes from the other side as well, and it's such a mutual thing. So beautiful answer, and thank you so much for doing this again with us. I know that you have very less time, but here's the Jay's book again, 8 Rules of Love, how to find it, keep it, and let it go. Do pick it up, read it, and I'm sure you will find tremendous value and merit in reading this. And I'm sure your love will expand, your love will deepen. It won't just have length, but it will have depth. So thank you very much, Jay, for doing this live session. Thank you all very much for joining us for this session, and wish you all the very best for the super duper success of this book. I don't need to wish you that, but I anyways know it will, but still a tiny little wish from my heart, a loving wish from my heart. And thank you so much for doing this live session for our Instagram community. Very, very grateful. Thank you.
No, thank you. Well, Gopalji, I'm exceptionally grateful. I reached out to you. You're being so kind and gracious, but I really wanted to share this with your community because I feel that love is such a misunderstood area. It's such it's a missed opportunity. I think we don't realize we're trying to control our stress and manage our pressure, but relationships cause the greatest stress in our lives. And so I'm so grateful for your kindness. I'm so grateful for your wonderful questions, your touchy questions, and your touchiest question. Please know that I am always here, and I'm your fan. I'm here to serve you and support you in whatever way I can. And this has been a really special live, and I can see from the comments just how much people love seeing us together. So please know that I will always
do more
open
of these, and
anything
we can have more touchy questions come up.
Yes, I love it. Let's do it. I'll have some back as well next time. So I'll have to ask you.
Thank you very much, and safe travels, and hope to see you soon again. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, and please save this because I want to share it with other people.
Sure.
So please save it. And thank you everyone who joined. Thank you everyone who joined us. Thank you to Gopal as well. Amazing team behind the scenes helping us so much.
Thank you for joining all of you.
Thank you everyone.
Good night. Bye.
Bye. Thank you everyone.